Have you ever found yourself holding back a simple request for help, even when you really needed it? Maybe you needed a ride, or just someone to talk to for a little while, but instead of reaching out, you stayed quiet. Maybe you told yourself, "They're busy," or "I don't want to bother them." And then, deep down, came that familiar little whisper, "I don't want to be a burden." If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. So many of us, especially as we get older, start to carry this quiet fear inside. It sneaks into our relationships, into our choices, and even into the way we talk to ourselves. And without realizing it, we begin to shut down parts of our heart that still need connection, care, and support. Now, let me say this clearly. Needing help does not make you weak. Asking for support does not make you a burden. And if that's hard to believe, I hope you'll stay with me for a little while. Because in this video, we're going to talk about where that fear comes from, why it's so common, and how to gently, step by step, set yourself free from it. We're going to talk about signs that you might be carrying this fear without even knowing it. We'll explore where it starts, how it affects your relationships and your health, and most importantly, we'll walk through 7 simple steps and 4 exercises that can help you heal. But for now, let's begin by looking at some of the quiet signs that this fear might be shaping your daily life. You might find it hard to ask for help, even with small things. Not because you don't want help, but because something inside of you says, it's better not to need anything at all. You may feel guilty when you talk about your struggles, especially if the person listening is going through something of their own. Or you might tell yourself things like, they have their own problems, or I don't want to add more stress to their plate. That kind of thinking becomes a habit. Before long, it can feel like everyone else's needs matter more than yours. And maybe that doesn't seem like such a big deal. After all, we were raised to be considerate, to be thoughtful. But here's the thing. When your needs are always put last, a quiet loneliness can settle in. It doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like being overly helpful, always showing up for others, doing things for everyone around you, while quietly hoping someone just once will notice that you're tired too. Or maybe it shows up as pride. I can handle it myself. I've always been strong. I don't need anybody. Those are powerful statements, but they can also be armor. Armor we wear to hide the truth that sometimes, yes, we do need help. And that's okay. And if you've noticed yourself avoiding the phone, not wanting to call your children or grandkids too often because they're probably busy, or avoiding doctor's appointments because you don't want to worry anyone, you're not alone in that either. So let's pause right here and ask, where does this fear come from? Why do so many older adults carry this sense that needing help is somehow shameful? For many of us, it goes back much further than we realize. It's not just about age, it's about experience, especially what we learned about love, support, and needs when we were growing up. If you were raised in a home where your needs weren't really seen or welcomed, you might have picked up the idea early on that asking for help is selfish. Maybe your parents were overwhelmed or emotionally distant, or even made you feel guilty when you asked for anything. They might have rolled their eyes, sighed loudly, or told you, "Can't you see I'm busy?" Over time, those little moments build up. A child learns that having needs equals causing trouble, that expressing pain or asking for attention means you're making life harder for everyone else. And that belief doesn't disappear just because we grow up. It stays with us, quiet, invisible, but strong. It shapes the way we speak to ourselves, and it can follow us right into our later years. when we start needing a bit more support again. Just like we did when we were young. But now, instead of asking for help with open hands, we hesitate. We worry we're too much. We don't want to burden our grown children or friends. And little by little, we isolate ourselves. Not because we want to be alone, but because we don't want to be a problem. And friend, I want you to hear this loud and clear. Your needs are not a problem. Your voice is not a burden. Your heart still matters. What happens if we let this fear go unchecked? Well, over time it can hurt more than we think. When we keep swallowing our needs, we start to feel invisible. We might feel resentment we don't know how to name. We might feel lonely in a room full of people. And physically, it can take a toll too. Loneliness isn't just an emotion. It's something that affects the body. Research has shown that chronic loneliness and emotional suppression can increase stress hormones, hurt our sleep, raise blood pressure, and even weaken the immune system. And here's something even more tender. When we constantly suppress our needs, we start losing touch with what those needs even are. We get so used to saying, "I'm fine," that we forget to check if we're really fine. Maybe you've noticed that. You're great at reading other people's emotions, knowing what they need before they even ask. But when someone asks how you are, you pause, because you haven't asked yourself that question in a long time. That's not your fault. That's the effect of years, maybe decades, of learning to minimize yourself to make room for others. But just because that's how it started doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You can relearn how to care for yourself. You can rebuild that inner sense of worth, the quiet knowing that your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. And you can take small steps at your own pace to reconnect with your voice, your feelings, and your right to ask for help. And I want you to know, you don't have to do this perfectly. You don't have to change everything overnight. Healing isn't about becoming a different person. It's about remembering who you were before the fear took over. So, as we continue together, I'll walk you through simple, practical ways to start this journey. You'll learn how to recognize the old beliefs that have been holding you back and how to replace them with kinder truths. You'll also discover real steps you can take, ones that feel doable, even when you're tired or unsure. Because you are not a burden. You are a human being deserving of love, connection, and care. At every age, in every season. And it's never too late to start believing that again. So now that we've gently opened up the conversation about where this fear comes from, let's talk about how it actually shows up in our daily lives, and what it does to our relationships, our bodies, and our peace of mind. It often starts quietly. Maybe you begin noticing that you don't want to bring up your problems in conversation, even with people who care about you. You downplay things. You say, "Oh, it's not that bad." Or, "I'm sure I'll figure it out." And you might even smile while saying it, because you've learned how to hide pain with grace. But on the inside, it still hurts. Or maybe you catch yourself apologizing all the time. Sorry for bothering you. Sorry for needing help. Sorry for being a little emotional today. It becomes a habit so natural you don't even notice it. But each sorry chips away at your right to be seen and supported. Sometimes the fear of being a burden takes on another shape, pride, not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet kind that says, "I'm strong. I don't need anyone. I can take care of myself." And yes, independence is a beautiful thing. But when it turns into isolation, it stops serving you. The danger is that over time, this kind of emotional suppression becomes a survival skill. It worked once, especially when you were younger. Maybe when you were a child, staying quiet kept the peace in the house. Maybe it made you feel safe or less likely to be punished or ignored. But now, as an older adult, those same strategies can keep you stuck. They keep you from opening up. They keep you from reaching out. And slowly, they keep you from feeling truly alive. You might start feeling like no one really knows you anymore. Not because they don't care, but because you've learned to hide so much of what's real. The loneliness creeps in, not from being alone, but from not being emotionally connected. Even in close relationships, marriages, friendships, families, this fear can create a quiet wall. You're there, but something inside stays guarded. You don't want to take up too much space. You're careful not to need too much. But real connection comes when we let people in. Not just the polished version, but the real one. The one who sometimes needs help. The one who sometimes cries. The one who still has dreams and fears and stories that matter. And when we don't give ourselves permission to share those parts, the people who love us miss out on truly knowing us. This is not just an emotional issue. It becomes physical too. Our bodies carry the weight of unspoken needs. Tension builds up. Sleep gets lighter. Energy dips. Some people even start to experience chronic aches, tightness in the chest, or digestive issues, not realizing that some of that might be linked to long-held stress and loneliness. And if you've ever told yourself, "I just feel tired all the time," or "I don't know why I'm so drained," maybe it's not just your body. It could be your heart, longing for connection, but too afraid to ask for it. But you don't have to stay stuck in that pattern. You can begin to shift, slowly, gently, and with compassion for everything you've been through. Healing this fear doesn't mean suddenly becoming someone who shouts their needs from the rooftop. It means building a quiet inner trust that your needs are valid, that it's okay to ask for help, to be seen, to be heard. And to start that journey, let's walk through 7 steps that can help you move from fear to freedom, one step at a time. The first step is awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. So begin to watch your thoughts. Notice the moments when you hesitate to speak up. The times you say, "I'm fine," when you're really not. The tiny apologies. The quiet holding back. Don't judge yourself. Just notice. The second step is curiosity. Ask yourself, where did I learn this? Was there a moment in your childhood when you asked for something and were told no with a sigh or an eye roll? Did you grow up with a parent who was always too tired, too angry, too distracted to hear your needs? Were you praised for being the strong one, the independent one, the helper, but never the one who needed care? Sometimes just naming these things starts to loosen their grip. The third step is compassion. Once you understand where these patterns came from, you can stop blaming yourself for having them. You were trying to survive. You learned to protect yourself the best way you could. And now you're learning something new. That takes courage. Step 4 is practice. You don't have to leap into vulnerability all at once. Start small. Ask for a favor, even if it feels uncomfortable. Say, "Actually, I could use a little help." And breathe through the discomfort. Remind yourself, you're not doing anything wrong. You're just being human. Step 5 is connection. Find people, whether friends, family, neighbors, or even a support group, who make you feel safe. People who listen without judgment. People who can hold space for your needs without making you feel guilty. Those people are out there, and you deserve to be surrounded by them. Step 6 is expression. Start speaking more honestly, even if it's just to yourself. Journal about your needs. Speak them out loud when you're alone, just to get used to hearing your own voice. Give your feelings a name. They've been waiting a long time to be acknowledged. And the 7th step, maybe the most important, is gentleness. This is not a race. This is a healing journey. And like any healing, it takes time. Some days will feel easier. Others will bring up old fears. But every small step you take is a victory. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to force yourself to be needy or dramatic or different than you are. You just have to remember, your needs are real. Your voice is allowed. Your presence is not a problem. As you begin this journey, you may find that your relationships change in beautiful ways. When you start opening up, just a little, people will meet you there. They'll surprise you with their kindness, their understanding, their willingness to show up for you. Because the truth is, most people want to help. They just need to be given the chance. You might also notice something else. As you allow yourself to receive more, you'll feel less drained, more at peace, more connected. Because asking for help doesn't take away your strength, it actually builds it. So if you've spent most of your life carrying the weight for others, maybe it's time to let someone else carry a little of it for you. You've earned that, and it's not a burden. It's a blessing for both of you. As you begin to reconnect with the part of you that still needs care, something gentle starts to shift. You no longer see your needs as weakness. You stop thinking that silence is strength. And slowly you realize, being human isn't about doing everything alone. It's about allowing life to flow in both directions, giving and receiving, supporting and being supported. And now I'd like to offer you 4 simple exercises that can help you practice this shift. These aren't meant to overwhelm you. They're small, practical, and deeply powerful when done with intention. The first one is this. Start with just one honest sentence a day. That could be, I feel lonely, or I'm tired today, or even, I could use a little company. You don't have to say it to anyone else at first. Just say it out loud to yourself. You're giving your own voice permission to exist, and that's where healing begins. The second exercise is what I call the helping hand request. Think of one small thing you'd normally do yourself, but today, ask someone else. Maybe it's asking your neighbor to carry in a package, or asking your daughter to pick something up from the store. Choose something small, not because it's unimportant, but because it's manageable. And then, and this is important, notice what comes up inside when you ask. Guilt, relief, fear, gratitude. Let it all be there. The third exercise is called memory reframe. Take a moment to remember a time when you were a child and needed something. A time you felt scared or tired or hurt, and your need wasn't met. Then imagine someone coming into that moment and meeting it with kindness. Picture them kneeling beside you, offering comfort, saying, "You are not a burden. You matter. I'm here." That person can be someone you know, or a version of yourself now. This isn't make-believe, it's restoration. You're giving your nervous system a new story to hold on to. And finally, the fourth exercise is the mirror message. Once a day, look into the mirror and say one sentence that affirms your worth. My needs matter. It's okay to ask for help. I am not a burden. Say it even if you don't fully believe it yet. You're planting seeds. And with time, those seeds will grow. Now, you may be wondering, how long does this take? How long until the fear fades and you finally feel free to ask, to receive, to breathe more deeply in your own life? There's no single answer to that. But what I can tell you is this. Healing doesn't happen in a straight line. It happens in layers. You may notice progress one week and feel stuck the next. That's okay. That's normal. What matters is not how fast you go, but that you keep going. some people start to notice real shifts within a few weeks of gentle practice. Others take several months to rebuild trust with themselves and with others. And for many, this becomes a lifelong journey, not of fixing something broken, but of coming home to themselves. You'll begin to recognize the patterns faster. You'll feel the fear and still choose to speak. You'll pause before apologizing unnecessarily. You'll ask for what you need and start believing you're worth receiving it. And then one day, without even realizing it, you'll feel lighter. You'll call your friend just to talk and not feel guilty. You'll let your child help you with something and feel gratitude, not shame. You'll share your feelings. And instead of worrying that it's too much, you'll feel closer to the person listening. That's the beautiful thing about healing. It opens the door to connection, real connection. The kind where you don't have to pretend. The kind where you don't have to hide behind a smile. The kind where someone looks at you and says, "Thank you for sharing that with me." And here's something important to remember. The people who love you, your family, your friends, your community, they often want to show up for you more than you realize. But if you've always worn the mask of, "I'm fine," they might not know how. When you take that first step, when you let someone in, you give them the gift of your trust. And that is never a burden. That's a blessing. You are not here to fade into the background of your own life. You are not here to shrink, to silence yourself, or to carry everything alone. You are here to love and be loved, to give and to receive, to age with dignity, with courage, and with deep, nourishing connection. So today, let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you say, "I've carried enough in silence. I'm ready to be real. I'm ready to be seen." And in doing that, you're not becoming a burden. You're becoming free. You deserve that freedom. You deserve that softness. You deserve to be held, supported, and celebrated. Not for what you do, but for who you are. And before we go, I want to invite you to share in the comments if any of this spoke to your heart. You never know. Your story could be the one someone else needs to hear today. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, Strong Elderly Life. We have more uplifting, heart-centered content coming your way. Remember, your life is not over. In fact, some of the most meaningful chapters may still be ahead. And this time, you get to write them with the fullness of your voice. Here's to living lighter. Here's to letting love in. And here's to finally knowing you were never a burden to begin with. You've always been enough.